Hello, everyone, and my name is Misti Gaither, and welcome to Quest, a journey into true crime and the paranormal. I am so thrilled, honored, and all the adjectives that are positive to have with me Nancy Weber, psychic detective. And that is just one of the many things that you are, besides you're also an RN, animal communicator, minister, author of 2 books.
Thank you, Misty. And
Yes.
hello. Hi.
How you doing?
Wonderful right now listening to your voice. I love it. I told you.
This country twang, I swear.
It's beautiful.
Thank you, thank you. Now, I introduced you first as a psychic detective, and that is where I first discovered you was on the show Psychic Investigators. Can be honest with you, I have probably watched the episodes that you're in. We're talking about into the double digits because I just really resonated with what that you were doing, well still do, and it just is amazing. And at the time I didn't even realize when I first started watching the episodes that that was even possible. And now it is like I think of it's kind of like my goal or my mission or something to be able to see more of that. Law enforcement may be using psychics more. What do you think about that?
What I've learned came from nursing on teamwork. And it didn't matter what your position was, whether you were in charge or you were an aide or an orderly, we used to call them back when. And so for me, I I do a lot of instructing and I look at ethics, fundamentals, and how you work with the police at teamwork. Otherwise, you'll never be asked again to work. Or if you do, it's because you're so incredibly good that they can't help themselves. However, in the police books nationwide, I think, I'm not quite sure about every state, in the code of what tools to use, psychics are named. The problem they have is several problems. One is if it goes to court, most courts will throw out the evidence collected if they know a psychic told them where it was. Many of them will not know what to do with that. Others will know not to admit the psychic into the uh, facts of the case carefully, not to bring them in. But the other part is the ethics of being confidential in everything. The cases you see that I've worked are the only ones I will talk about because they are fully adjudicated, unless there's one or two others that were also fully adjudicated and there are nobody around that will be upset, angry, etc. So I think the reason sometimes depends on the detectives and the federal agencies that I do know use psychics because I've worked with every level. Like you didn't know it was possible. Most of them don't know, but if, as Detective Bill used when he was a young detective said, the reason I use you is I have 1,000 possible leads or none. And we're hoping you pull the rabbit out of the hat, so to speak. And most of the time, they don't need us. But if we look at it, I think there's something like, 60,000 missing people any given day in our country, at least.
At least.
I could be, it may be even a small number than it's real. I have no clue. And I get requests pretty much daily on that. And I tell people I will not discuss what I'm working on
Right.
ever. So confidentiality, and a lot of police don't trust somebody who is into what we're into. Some of them don't want the publicity of somebody speaking and blowing a case.
Yeah, because it's kind of like a fine line, I'm thinking, because I mean, when you're a psychic in a psychic medium, it's just like your reputation is everything. Accuracy, reputation, that's the guidelines that you really, if you want repeat business and if you want to have a reputable name for yourself, you have to have those two things. So I think that I can see the part of the law enforcement in some ways, they how would they know? You know, they know you because you've proved yourself and you've worked with several agencies and you have that reputation. And I mean, you even have what, two badges?
Well,
Yeah.
I have one, I gave one back when the chief of police thought I was the one who caught him on a fraud.
Oh, okay.
I gave it right back. I said, no, thank you.
Right. I got you there.
But the other one came from a commissioner.
Oh, nice.
I love my badge.
Do you like carry it around in like your purse or just like just
It's
display
in
it?
it's actually in a police wallet in my bag. It is my wallet. I
Oh,
don't use
cool.
a woman's wallet or anything like that. Ever since I got it,
Hmm.
that's my wallet.
I like that. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. So you never know, when you might need it. Just kind of whip it out and here I am.
Oh, yes. Just
Yeah.
put it out on my lap and say, one moment, I'll get my driver's
Right.
license.
Um, oh, here's my badge. I forgot it was in here.
Oh my, how strange. Yes, I have done that.
Well, look, if I had one, I would do it too. Now, I mean, you have two books, and one's called, of course, right behind you, The Psychic Detective, and also All Nature Speaks. And let's talk about first the All Nature Speaks one. I mean, it's communicating with animals and wildlife. And I believe from
Yes.
what I've researched on you, you're like really into the holistic and the like you said you're a vegan sometimes and different things. So is that what the book is all about, or is it has a different
No,
spin?
it's not about what I eat necessarily. I think it's just consistency and ethics about if I believe in communicating with them, all of them, then I can't eat them. But that's not what the book is about. The book is how our environment with them, domesticated ones, wildlife, how we treat the environment they live in really impacts their health. So that's only in the beginning, in the opening chapter. The rest of it is really about how uh, there are different ways, three missing different animals found three different, entirely different ways for different causes. So I go into depth in each one so that people can see sometimes the reason a dog will leave is not because they chasing a rabbit and forgot where they are.
Hmm.
Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. I don't love you, but the can be like one of them. He took a stroll for 365 days to varying towns. We were always one town behind him in psychically telling where he was, and they go, "Oh yes, we saw him. We thought he lived here." 365 days
Wow.
exactly. He showed up at the doorstep of his companion human. And I said, he just loved. He was an adult and he wanted to take a journey.
So he just struck out.
Exactly. So he's an adult. And too often we think of them as our cute little babies when they're 10 and 15, etc. So that was part of the reason. The other part was I learned how to communicate with them, sometimes through high stress, just like everything else in trauma, of a cat I loved who was, the accuracy was astonishing to me that she was able to communicate with me what was going on with her pregnancy that turned out to be true. And then what would go on with her labor and delivery, which turned out to be true.
Mm.
Everything. And so I went and started recording. And when I was asked to work with a horse, I started giving readings normally for horses and all over the country, pretty much, and missing dogs and in California. I mean, they're all my teachers. So scuba diving and snorkeling many years ago, uh, the fish I was communicating with and seeing, who are you? And so to me, it's all soul to soul. When you communicate that way,
Hmm.
you actually get to know and forget that they have four legs or two legs or feathers or fins or fur. It doesn't matter. They're souls. And so the whole book is soul to soul communication. And what I discovered, because they kept teaching me, Cats taught me, birds taught me, rescue bird taught me. I was a rescue agent. I find that what we say, oh, I understand my dog, somebody will say, or whatever. Yeah, sometimes they do, but sometimes they're not really, they're getting a feel like you do when a baby, human baby goes, and
Right, right.
right. And the parent goes, oh, he's hungry.
Right. You're like, okay.
Right.
Hmm.
So I want it distinct, just like with being a detective. I want the evidence that we're really communicating. And I get it, whether they're deceased or here. And so the book is a compilation of many of the different ones, and hopefully enough of the techniques I use that others have said that they started using those and they seem to help them.
Well, let me ask you this. Now,
Sure.
when you were talking about, about reading a cat or whatever, I was thinking, I would think that a cat would be the most difficult thing to read because you know how persnickety and unpredictable that they are, but they're actually maybe the easiest to read more than a dog or
No, just like dogs, horses, whales, any of them. Some of them are smarter than others. Some of them are easier than others. You said persnickety, and I'm saying I had cats, two of them in particular I'm thinking of, who the living room, you walk straight into a living room and there was a couch at the time and there were two cats sleeping. And a rescued dog was brought in by the couple who rescued him, only he bites and barks, they said. And he walks in quietly. My cats look up and yawn and go back to sleep. That was their style always. You had to walk over most of my cats I had, and I had a lot, and dogs and skunk and all kinds. Uh, if they were on the staircase, you had to just step over them because they weren't moving. They were so
exactly.
relaxed.
Right.
And so that dog just looked at them, wagged his tail, and looked at me, and went in my office and went to sleep. And the couple just looked and went, huh? So there were twofold. Everyone was relaxed, which he wasn't used to. And the other part was I had nothing here that would overstimulate his brain because the dogs are scent specific. That means they can tell the difference in molecules in your entire body. It's why they can sniff out cancer.
Okay.
They can tell the difference between the molecules of the skin of your nose to the toe. They are so good at it. Cats, not as good, but twice as good as us. And so I learned that scent was really important. That's why I called that in the first chapter and pointed out a lot of times behavior is from toxicity when they're aberrant behavior. They're toxic internally or they're picking up a scent that makes their brain crazy. But normal communication with them is almost like a discussion. And most of my cats, one of them, I would look at her and we had videotapes at the time. And I said, hey, you want to play? And she goes down our hall, which is about 15 feet long or so. I don't know. And she starts kicking it to me with her chin.
What?
And we go back and forth for like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes until we both got tired of it. So, yeah, I think if you treat anything like a soul, a spider, a fly, beneath the exterior is the fabric of life. And it pervades everything when we're connected to it. And so I wrote the book to say, yeah, true. Penny Smith was and is retired now. And she wrote some great things, Penelope Smith, and her stuff is still online. And she was a phenomenal animal communicator. Probably still is if she's around.
Well, that's really interesting, but I don't know about roaches though.
Me
I
neither.
don't care about if they have a
Me
soul or
neither.
not.
There are a few things. I know I have to love their soul, but I
Right.
don't have to like their actions.
Thank you. I am with you on that. Now let's get to the psychic detective. Now,
Sure.
one of the episode that I watched, like I said many times with you, and it was the one I believe that the person, her name was Annie or Abby or Hoffman,
Amy.
Amy Hoffman. Yeah.
Mm.
And that
Mm.
episode was just amazing. I mean, because you actually got the first name and part of the last name because you said it was like K da 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 itch.
Correct.
Right.
Wow.
And then Bill Hughes and the captain, I believe his name was Tom, was it Tommy or
Jimmy
Johnny?
Moore.
Jimmy
Jim
Boyd.
Jim Moore.
Okay. And they were just, they were wanting you to be able to come in and talk to the prosecutor and get officially on the case. And then he didn't want none of it. And I remember Mr. Boyd, he was like, he was still upset at the prosecutor because he wouldn't allow you to be official on there. But you know how when you were saying in the beginning that of the beginning of the show that you wait to be asked. And
Yes.
could you explain to me and maybe those that's watching that do maybe do not understand why is that so important for you to be or any psychic? Why is that so important to you that you need to be asked by either the investigating officers or by the family?
It's my belief system that the source of all life, whatever everyone calls it, knows best. And so we are all messengers, I believe. We are all messengers, hopefully of the light. And when we are connected with compassion and love and caring, for me, it is a call to the light to let me know when it is appropriate for me. And so I don't push. I don't decide for others, I can do this because I have no idea if I can. I do know that it doesn't matter if I actually am accurate or not. If they call me, that means they'll just use me even to brainstorm because I can be very creative. I love psychology and psychiatry. I've worked in the field a lot years ago. I'm very comfortable with going back and forth between tuning in and figuring out things and profiling. And so for me, I know I'm needed if I'm called on. And that means that everyone who cares to serve decided I'd be a good fit. But they're not making an assumption, nor am I, that I'm going to have answers. We're hoping I can lead them to something or trigger something for them. If I have answers, like in that case, we don't know if it actually, on a concrete level, helped. We believe that in another level, yes, it did. And towards the end and catching him, yes, it did. But I have an odd one where you mentioned it and how the prosecuting investigator and why Captain Jim Moore was really still angry. There's more to that story. Would you like to know what it is? Because I didn't put it in the book.
I would love it. Thank you.
We had a chief prosecutor. I am not going to call names out because some of them have families that are decent and they don't need to hear this about who they loved and what they did. So the chief prosecutor assigns the next investigative prosecutor to head up the investigation once it became more than one county or more than one town, actually. It became a task force. And the person they appointed, I had said while I was working with the two detectives who were part of the task force, he's never worked a murder case. He's had 5 towns call it in before Digital O'Brien died, after Amy died. And I'm making a list and they're very quiet. They don't tell me anything because they don't really know. And they don't. I go to Mendham Township. This is in the book also. The Life of a Psychic Detective has that part and a lot of it. But I don't know. It always bothered me. What's going on here? 2000, maybe around 10 or 12. So this is in the 1980s. I had a bookkeeper who walks in one day and looks at me and says, I didn't know you knew the Kadadich case
Mm.
and worked on it because she saw it like you did. And she said, so I said, yes. She said, well, you know, Deirdre O'Brien's father, I worked for him. I said, oh, okay, I'm sorry. She said, no, you don't understand. The chief prosecutor was Jim O'Brien's close friend. Jim O'Brien was a very influential person politically and spiritually in our state, a good man who ran a big business and did good in the world. He decided, having the chief prosecutor give him all the police reports in detail and apologize for assigning this particular investigator who had never worked a homicide. So he gave everything to Jim, the entire thing, from the start of Amy missing, the hypnosis witnesses, the car, everything, down to every court. And Jim took over about the court cases, wrote every detail. He was going to put the book out. Along come very influential people in the state and begged him not to put the book out, but to make a center in Deirdre's name. We now have probably the best child advocacy center, in one of the best probably in the country. It's Deirdre's house. And it is like a gorgeous hotel, nurses, doctors for child abuse issues and all kinds of terrible things for children. But they don't feel like they're in a hospital. They don't feel like people are putting them through the mill. It's beautiful and it's dedicated because Deirdre in her honor. Okay. My bookkeeper is holding a carton. She said, well, then Jim told me when I said, what do you want me to do with the book? The manuscript. He said, I don't care. Do whatever you want. And she handed it to me. I
Oh,
have every
wow.
proof of the 5 towns of the investigating prosecutor never having had a homicide case. It always bothered me. And then when I read it, it bothered me more. Such innocence. But his ego was so big. And I'm sure that the detectives realized it at that particular meeting. What happened? I found out after Jim retired, he was able to talk because he was wonderful. And Bill and I are still very close. I just said a baby blessing for his granddaughter.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, we're all friends for decades now. So Jim said, he's looking at it. He said, I couldn't tell you anything. We had never seen a task force like this in our lives. The chief investigating prosecutor, the investigator, would take one person, one captain from a town, and go behind closed doors with him while the rest of the task force just sat there. They weren't allowed to share. That's not a task force.
no.
He blew off 5 towns calling in James Kadadich after Amy died. I always wanted to do a film called Ego Kills, or just speak out. And this is why I tell it, because anybody listening needs to know you need to be an advocate, a strong advocate for the people you love when you run into anything. You need to know your victim rights, big time.
And that's just so important,
Uh-huh.
to know your
Oh,
rights. And because a lot
oh,
of people, I mean, like they have so much grief and so uncertainty, you don't know where to turn or what to do, and then you're supposed to trust law enforcement and the
well,
prosecutors and all that, and it doesn't always work out that way.
there are a lot of small towns. Now that where he came from is a very large city in Jersey, but I've gone to other states, and some of the states, they have people working cases that never worked a homicide. It's not common to know how to work a homicide. You need a lot of training and you need a lot of experience and you need to break in. But I saw one with a double homicide that was absolutely insane. They just made a decision and arrested the first person they saw, pretty much threw him in uh, jail, waiting 3 years to have a trial. They never looked further. And I said, when I saw all of it and it was so obvious they had the wrong person, I turned to the people who called me in and I said, did those detectives ever have worked before on homicide? No, first homicide in this town.
Well, and that's well, if you think about it, like attorneys, you have to have so many credentials or something like that to even prosecute to be able to try a death penalty case.
Yep.
But they don't
Yeah.
have that same restrictions or whatever for a homicide detective or any detective to work on a homicide. You just thrown in there and
You bring up really important pieces. And as you do that, I'm thinking, I teach a lot of people who love being a psychic detective, some of them professionally, and some who call it psychic investigators, et cetera. And I'm always using some of the cold cases that I was asked to work on with permission from either the detectives or the family without naming names. I think I need to create a real certification program for them with it, because they have to know ethics and fundamentals, and then they stand a far better chance of having the network happen of police. If you don't know police, whether it's federal agents or local, it doesn't really matter. It is, they have to like you first and trust you before they even ask. The first one who worked with me, she had read about me in the new town I moved, and she saw me every week with my son in karate, and we'd talk, and suddenly she started asking me, and there I was. That's what led to it. So she was sensing if I were somebody that they could trust, even asking.
yeah, because some you think about it like profilers and some law enforcement, they have, maybe they don't want to call it like the
License.
gift or intuition or whatever. And some of them are blessed with it. And some of them want you to think that they have it and they don't. And so it's kind of, but she evidently felt that about you and was
Mhm.
spot on. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Which brings, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just
Oh,
saying, if they ever think of it as gut hunch, the police who are skeptical, they
mm-hmm.
ever have a hunch,
Oh, yeah, same.
right?
Just right, just a different word. Now let me this another one of the case and was the one, I believe her name was Elizabeth, and
Yes.
yes, and
Cornish.
yes,
Right.
Cornish, right. And but you went on Nancy Grace, and I know there's a story there. I know it because I was watching your face when you were doing the interview with Nancy, and I was just the several times I watched it, I was just like, wow, because I could tell you were maybe wanting to say more, and then it was like she was kind of like, oh, allegedly, or this supposed psychic, supposed detective. And
Mhm.
I just felt like it was, kind of disrespectful in a way because we wouldn't want, I know that Nancy and I watch Nancy occasionally, and I'm sure that the other Nancy, I should say Nancy Grace, I'm sure we wouldn't want to refer to her as a supposed reporter or supposed commentator or however, but I could tell it was like, I don't know, it just like I just felt like there was more there that you wanted to say.
There are several things, but most about what this is was I had seen her prepping. She was amazing.
Hmm.
She's looking at her script and she's correcting things, and she's talking with us at the same time and then telling us some wonderful things that were going to happen in her life that she was so excited about, friendships and stuff. And then when we got there, it sounds to me a little sarcastic at times. And I know she can be, and that's okay, but I never like hearing it that way. I have my own attitude, but I tend not to like anyone making it as a ipso facto. And she knew. But the funny part is she already knew all the stuff and she believed in it. It
Hmm.
wasn't that she doesn't. She's had Noreen on,
Oh,
who
okay.
is a friend of mine, and Laurie McCrary, who's a friend. I mean, all the night, and they're all, who they are. So I expected it, but I didn't when it happened.
Right. Right.
Right. And I thought, oh, okay, she's doing that. She's doing her stuff. But that was okay. During the break, she told us something that after the break, so I don't know, at which point what you were looking at,
Hmm.
She was excited. She said, I'll have to run cross town. This is a Wednesday, I think we filmed. She said, on the weekend, she said, do you know I worked as for 10 years in Georgia as a prosecutor
Right.
because of her fiance being murdered originally? I said, yes, I do know. She said, I never lost a case, and that judge is the best friend of mine. And the court clerk is flying in because we've always kept in touch, and she's flying in this weekend. Okay. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
taking her this place and that place. I go home. And the next day, I think it's the next day, news break. Georgia judge murdered. Somebody walked in and murdered him and the court clerk.
What?
Yes.
Oh my
And
God.
that's why you saw a lot of things that were odd.
Okay. And yeah.
I could
Wow.
feel something going on and I didn't know what it was, and nor
Mm-hmm.
did she. She had no suspicion of what was going to happen. That was devastating. But I felt something was off in her
Mm.
and I didn't know what it was.
And that's what it was.
Yep, that's what it was. I She wouldn't know,
Right.
but I believe because of the connection so deep in them, she could feel something stir. I don't know. I know I can
Mm-hmm.
feel something's off and that I react to it sometimes instead of responding. And that's what I was doing.
Yeah, because you were like, you would answer, but before you would answer, you would kind of like swallow or kind of like it was kind of
Yep.
measured. And, I did notice that it was a difference than normally how that, you respond or you do, that it
Yep.
was a difference. And I was just thinking maybe it had something, well, it did have something to do with Nancy, but I wasn't even like close to what that was actually going on. Wow.
Well, I didn't know why either,
Yeah.
but now I know. I mean, I looked back at it as soon as it happened. I said, so that's what was going on in me and her.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, when you, like you're on a case and you can be like as the victim or as the murderer. I mean, how does that
I'm
transpire?
smiling and laughing because, yep, I can be both.
Right. So I like when on the James Kadadovich, you were both or mostly the victim.
Mostly the victim for sure, both Amy and Deidre. Uh, I I knew everything that, well, pretty much everything, and the words they spoke upon dying. Well, Deidre particularly.
Oh,
Uh,
can I
uh,
just say something just real quick about
sure.
Deidre? Now, what I remember is this was so moving was when I mean, because when they drive you somewhere, they don't take you to the exact spot. They just take
Mhm.
you in the area, and then you pick it out. Like, okay, this happened here. And you were on the ground with
Mm.
the Deidre when you were reliving that, and it was like, and I don't know, it just really touched me, and I could just feel in that moment, when you went up like you were, um, like when she was knocking on the 18-wheeler door trying to get someone to
Yes.
to respond to her, and then you were just on the like on the ground just knocking and knocking and like becoming that exact moment of when the trucker came out and held her and was there for her last words and last breath.
The thing about Deirdre, she was so loved by so many people. She had such a beautiful, outgoing personality who adored people, right? And she was 23. And everybody before the filming, people didn't know what I did necessarily. We kept it hush hush for a long time. Uh, Small circles knew because they were in our towns or something. Anyhow, we were all very quiet until the film. Right before the filming, I'm going to do a wedding at a place about half hour from me. I walk in and the owner, also named Nancy, said, how are you doing? Anything new? And I said, oddly, yes. When I told her, she said she knew, I think it was the truck driver.
Oh, okay.
Then I go and get my hair cut Same thing. She knew somebody else involved. Everybody was connected and had a story. Didn't matter where I went and what happened once they knew that. So it was Deirdre. To me, she's the network. She's the connector. She, on her dying breath, kept telling people what he looked like because she wanted him caught so nobody else could get hurt. That is an angel.
Yeah.
She was an angel on earth for that. That's why Deirdre's house. So all those connections, I believe, we're part of if we're open to it. And when we're open to it, we're taken into the inner circle. We get to know things.
Right.
So honoring that, getting to know the murderer is more about looking at them through the eyes of the victim than anything else. However, I also talk to the murderers. I don't go inside them, but I talk to them. My past history is running an acute psych unit in the South Bronx during the time of the highest crime rate, I think, in the country, known as Port Apache, the old Lincoln Hospital. It was a federally funded grant, and I ran the unit pretty much. I was the head nurse in it. And that's where I started using my gifts big time. And it was very, very successful. But we worked with homicidal, suicidal, schizophrenic, manic phase of anything, delusions, knife wielding, handcuffed, they bring in, it was all kinds. And that's where I guess, grew the comfort of speaking with, oh, so you killed 10 people, you were in Mattawan State Prison for 15 years. And if you turn around and look at me, you believe that the voice is going to tell you to kill me. Well, don't look at me. That's how we talked.
Right.
And that's how I got him to tell me his childhood and what had happened, what stimulated all the crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm used to that.
Right.
By the time the police came calling, I had done a lot of that work. I worked also with 3 different psychiatrists, clients in different states every week, from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. I would be seeing their clients, taping it, giving it to the psychiatrist for them to review and learn about the blocks in them. But every so often, I would get somebody homicidal sitting opposite me. And I had to quickly decide for myself what was going on. One of them, I kept the door open. I looked at him and I said, you almost killed somebody, your roommate? He said, yeah, I tried to strangle him. I said, you didn't kill him though. No. But you have a license because I believe you have a gun. He said, yeah, it's on me. I said, oh, okay. just, just
Right.
rolling with him.
Right.
I said, are you a private investigator? He said, yeah. I said, and you're feeling a little angry right now? He said, oh yeah, that's why I'm working on it. I said, tell you what, hang on. I'm going to talk to the psychiatrist and I'll be right back. So I go and tell the psychiatrist, who's a friend, and I said, get an ambulance and get it here fast. He said, why? I said, they're to do a blood sugar level on him immediately,
Oh, wow.
as soon as they get him into the hospital. Why? I said, just get it. And I walked away. And sure enough, within 5 minutes, the ambulance was there. The guy went. They took it. I warned them he had a gun. They took the gun. He gave it to them. The laboratory called us back about 3 hours later. He had the highest blood sugar levels ever seen.
Wow.
He was homicidal then. So they brought him down. And as he went down, the blood sugar level, the thoughts, the craziness left. But that doesn't mean he wouldn't do it again. So I'm used to it.
Right.
I've said the opposite of hitman. Told him go confess at a police station, you idiot.
Hey, everybody, this is Misti Gaither, and guess what? We have merch now. That's right, Quest, a journey into true crime and the paranormal. We have t shirts, hoodies, stickers, mugs, just about anything that you would want has the Quest logo on it. Be sure to click on the link below in the comments, and it'll take you right to the site, and you can just pick out what you like, and buy your friends something, buy your family members something. It'll be great. Quest is sponsored by Chef Ron's Gumbo Stop. For award-winning gumbo by an award-winning chef, be sure to check out Chef Ron's Gumbo Stop. It is in Metairie. And just today, it was released that Chef Ron was named the best jambalaya in our area. So that's pretty cool. They also have bread pudding, and be sure to go and check them out. We also have the Haunted Hotel that's on Ursuline Street in New Orleans. And let me tell you, I have stayed there several times. I have investigated there several times. It is very haunted. It is where allegedly the Axeman of New Orleans stayed while he went on his murderous spree. So be sure to go on to hauntedhotelnola.com and book your stay. Book a night, book 2 nights, because you will not be disappointed. We also have Area 51 Gallery for all your merch needs. Rocket, he does our buttons and our magnets. So be sure to go in there if you have a crew, a party, an event, just whatever that you need promoted. Be sure to contact Rocket, and he will consult with you, and your event will be unique because he has unique merchandise. Louisiana Pizza Kitchen Uptown, where every Wednesday is Family and Friends Night. They have half off all adult beverages, including bottles of wine. And you know what? You can also go there on Sundays because they have mimosas and Bloody Marys that are just out of this world and at a good price too. So be sure to check out Louisiana Pizza Kitchen. It's the corner of Carrollton and St. Charles right there at the River Bend. We also are sponsored by Louisiana Spirits. It is a paranormal team that encompasses the whole state of Louisiana. So if you are needing an investigation in your home or business, be sure to contact Louisiana Spirits. They have a Facebook page, and they will take care of you. So tell me about the Son of Sam.
Oh,
That was pretty cool.
thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
every Thursday night for many years, I taught, and this was about 1976 or 77. I started in 75, and there was a new person, first name Barbara. And there were probably about 8 or 10 people, come and go. I never cared. Everybody who showed up wanted some, but they wouldn't be quiet. And I asked why, and they said, "Oh, so does Sam." Oh. I said, "Okay, let's hold hands." And I said a prayer out loud that he be found, essentially, that the source of all creation certainly knows what harm is being played out to the innocent. And if it is within the highest good spiritual path, let it happen that he come forth. I dropped it. And I got a name. I wrote it down. First, middle, and last name complete. I never recall it when anybody asks me now. I have it written, but for some reason it never stays in my mind. But the name I remember is Robert Louis Falcone, which isn't true. Anyhow,
Right.
similar.
Right, yeah.
So we go around the room and none of them give any answers. They go, except Barbara, who's brand new. I see David Berkowitz.
Wow.
They all go, "Oh, you got to call the New York Post right now." And I said, "No, I don't. It's 10 o'clock at night. My son wakes up at about 5:30 in the morning for his first breastfeeding. Go." Oh, so it had to be 75, 1970. Right. So they leave. I wake up in the morning, and about 9 a.m. they announced that he was caught on a parking ticket, David Berkowitz. 2 weeks later, we find out I had his birth certificate name. He was adopted. So I tell the class when they come back, all questioning everything. And I said, no preconception, no expectation. Barbara just got what she got. She was just open to receiving. She didn't question it. She didn't go, "Oh, I can't do this. I can do," nothing. Just go. I said, if they were taking me as the psychic, they never would have found him.
Right, because of the
Right,
real name,
because he
right?
was
Yeah,
right, right. And so that was a way of hoping they got the message that you must step in every time with no preconception, no expectation, just do the work and no prefacing. I don't know. Maybe there was only one thing. No, just say what you have and see if it helps.
right. Now you did the circle in the Jim
Yes.
Kadadich case, and that was really interesting because you had your circle, the people that you trusted, and you said basically pretty much the same prayer that you said at the Son of Sam thing,
Yep.
and then uh, it was what, the next day or something, that he stabbed a woman with long brown hair, which you had brown hair,
Mhm.
and that stabbed him, and he called the police, and then the police officer recognized the car as the one that they had called
Right.
in or something. And I like it when they said at the end, it came out that he actually stabbed himself. It was after your circle prayer, and then they said, like, they wonder if he sees the lady with the long brown hair occasionally. Do you think he does?
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I've been to death row on one case that I worked,
Mm-hmm.
and he knew.
Yeah.
He knew me.
Yeah.
I was with a journalist who was doing a book on him. He had killed the state trooper. And he looked at me and said, he didn't actually do the killing. He confessed to doing the killing. But the other guy, Uncle Dave,
Mm-hmm.
this was Tom Manning, uh, I called out, it was Uncle Dave. And when I said that to Tom, he just smiled. And I said, it doesn't really matter, does it? You're both put away for life. He said, yep, sure enough. He was actually, Tom, if you met him in the street, you'd like him.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Uh, he had a political agenda and he wasn't uncomfortable going into violence, although you would not see that in him so easily.
Mm-hmm.
Just like many, you know, people are shocked at, oh, he was such a nice neighbor.
A loner. Always
Yep.
a loner.
Yep. No, yeah, but Tom wasn't. He had a nice family. His
Uh-huh.
kids would draw for him, send pictures for the cell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's no, having worked a lot with psychotics and sociopaths, psychopaths, all of it, I can say this no always, you don't always explain anything, but that's how I started looking at what I learned in nursing. And now I've got the book in my Kindle all the time, Your Brain on Parasites, because it can manipulate who you are easily.
Mm-hmm.
It can own you and do terrible things. In So there are so many things we don't know. We're first beginning. Psycho neuropsychiatry is a relatively new field, finally, because mental means the electronics of your brain, really, your nervous system, your central nervous system, your brain, and and your gut. We know that now, and how it impacts behavior. I don't know that that's the answer to everything because it leaves out soul, spirit of your life,
Right.
lessons that we go through, but put it all together.
It all intertwines and works together.
I believe.
Right. Now, I really think I love this quote that there are like two or three quotes that I really like that you said. And it said, you know, you were going to live your life your way, or keep simmering inside and quaking at all those who like to control you.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it hasn't always been easy for you. And
Mm.
do you think uh, what I've noticed about psychics and myself is we always don't know. This is like me personally. I guess I'm speaking for myself, but I have noticed a few more that's like that. We don't know so much what's going to happen to us. Or is it that we're so involved in the moment that we think we can control everything because maybe we know and it just sometimes don't always work that way? What do you think?
Mixed bag.
Yeah.
One, I know I made a decision, a conscious decision, that I'm not interested in knowing my future.
Hmm.
If I do everything in the moment as best as I can, as much as I can, in a healthy way, then that's all I need for the next moment. And the pattern is set because I believe we're setting up patterns. Everybody is. And so, how we handle things, if I'm worried about the goal or the outcome or something, it takes away from me from doing it now and having a good time doing whatever I'm doing. So it's one of the reasons I hardly ever have given predictions once I explored enough in the first year or two, except when it comes to cases. I try and look ahead and see if there's anything else that I need to go down that path for whatever. Is it something that's, I think of knowing where a body would be found, and I refuse to walk into the woods to get it.
Right.
I saw that as trouble. And I believe I was correct because I know the case was never solved. And I think I know why. And I have to keep it away from me.
Yeah.
If you get too close to some cases, you're in danger. So I trust that. But I believe, we all are making programs. My third book I'm writing is all about being a soul detective, knowing your own soul and enjoying the ride and getting the great lessons from it and not uh, festering inside, but really uh, appreciating
I like that.
and know,
Yeah, I
so
like that, appreciating more than festering is a good thing, Uh, I have enjoyed, I could really speak to you probably like at least 5 more hours. I don't know. But I really enjoyed it. I hope that you will come back and we can talk some more. Um, I had thought about asking you about what you wanted your legacy to be, but I found and see if it's still true. And you said, which I'm sure it is, it says love, compassion, learning, and passing on what you learn is how that you want to leave your legacy.
I like that. I'll keep it.
Okay. I wrote it for you. No, I'm joking. But yeah, I think that's really, that kind of says it all. I mean, you're giving back. You have your gifts, you're using it to help people as,
Just so.
and then you have your classes. And for those, y'all can go on YouTube and it's So Talk with Nancy Orland Weber. And it's a wonderful channel and it has so many different episodes. She actually even talks to uh, Bill Hughes, the he was the state trooper that you worked on the case, the Hoffman case with, and just so many different topics that you go into on this show. So y'all be sure to go over there and subscribe and like her channel. And I just really appreciate you being here. I've learned so much from you. Well, I don't know how long we've talked, but I think it's been a while. But I really appreciate you being on the show and taking the time, to talk with me. It means a lot.
Thank you, Misty. I love having a conversation with you.
Thank
This
you.
was very enlightening for me too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, everybody. And you know what? Stay tuned. And next week, I'll be back and have another great guest. And I'll see you then. Good night.